Welcome to a new season in our lives. We are on a mission to demolish the arguments that have kept us from taking our next step towards true Christian authenticity. Are you ready to tear down those self-protective masks that are holding you back in life, in business, in relationships? It's about mindset, but more specifically, learning to keep our minds set on Christ regardless of circumstance. This is the Mindset School podcast. I'm your host, Peggy Easterling. Let's be real, okay? Are you ready? Let's go. Hey, friend, welcome back. Today, we're diving into something that I know we all feel as the holidays roll around. How to navigate our relationships with family and friends with a little more grace and a whole lot less frustration. Do you know what I mean? Those invisible playbooks that we've got tucked in our back pockets. Plus, the power of gratitude to flip that script on how to see this season all together. I want you to stick with me. This one's for you, whether you're listening in November or mid-July, because today what we're talking about isn't just for the holidays. It's for your heart. So grab your coffee, your journal, or a quiet corner, and let's jump in. My husband, Steve, is famous for saying, you got to have a game plan, babe. And he's right. We do need plans. But here's the thing about game plans. If you don't share them with the other players on the field, you're going to be the only one who knows the rules you're playing by. Let me give you an example. Steve was single for years before we got married. And his game plan worked perfectly for him. But when we got married, my playbook and his were playing two different sports. One day, he went for a car wash. And at the time, he had a black SUV. He went and he was getting his car wash. So I'm like, okay, have fun. See you in a bit. Well, he called me hours later. He was super excited to tell me, hey, I got a new car. So he went to wash his black SUV and came home with a white SUV. Now, he didn't think he was being selfish, but he hadn't lived with anyone for years. And his playbook didn't have any space for a teammate yet. And so in that process, he didn't realize that I might not be as excited that he went and bought a car without having a conversation in the front side of that with me. My playbook was that big purchases before they happen should be discussed in the front. And his playbook didn't have those rules. How many of us are doing the same thing without realizing it? We're expecting people to follow unspoken rules, even though they don't even know the rules exist. And when they don't, we get upset. Does this sound familiar? Especially during the holidays, right? Maybe Aunt Sue didn't compliment your casserole, or your brother left the table before dessert. And your Uncle Joe, he came to dinner in his sweatpants again. Your formal dinner? Suddenly, this playbook starts running the show. Here's where gratitude comes in like the hero of the story. Did you know that gratitude can actually rewire your brain? I'm not talking about just giving you the warm fuzzies. There's science behind this. Research shows that when you practice gratitude, your brain releases dopamine and serotonin. Those are the feel-good chemicals that reduce anxiety, and they boost happiness. Even better, gratitude literally strengthens neural pathways in your brain. This makes it easier to default to joy rather than that default of frustration or that default of resentment. I don't know about you, but sometimes I get into resentment cleaning when my false narratives start going off in my brain. And when I allow my brain to switch to that gratitude, it's like lifting weights at the gym. Especially, this gym is in your mind. And the reps look like saying, Lord, I thank you for this. Or I appreciate that. So how do we bring this gratitude into those moments when the playbook feels like it's going off the rails? What if instead of focusing on what someone didn't do, we pause and thank God for the fact that they're at the table? Gratitude doesn't change the other person. It changes us. And that shift is where it all happens. Let's bring this back to Jesus, y'all. If anyone had the playbook for life, it was him. And yet his playbook wasn't a list of unspoken rules. It was a clear invitation. Matthew 11:28-30 says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." Jesus didn't hit us over the head with demands. He doesn't expect us to read his mind. He invites us with so much grace to walk with him. And he gives us a clear game plan: rest, learn, follow. And that's what he wants us to do. And if we're honest, how often are we the opposite with others? We expect them to follow rules we haven't communicated, and then we get frustrated when they don't. This is very similar to the story of Martha and Mary in Luke 10. Martha's playbook was all about serving and perfection, and Mary's playbook was just sitting at the feet of Jesus. Martha didn't tell Mary what she expected. She just got mad when Mary didn't follow this silent script. And Jesus lovingly corrected Martha, showing her that grace and presence mattered more than perfection. This holiday season and every season, what would it look like to invite others to walk with us in grace rather than holding them to a playbook they can't see? All right, here's how we put this into practical action. Number 1, start with gratitude. When you wake up in the morning, take 2 minutes. I said 2, yes. Take 2 minutes to thank God for 3 things. These things can be big or small. Thank you, Lord, for my coffee. Thank you, Lord, for my cozy socks. Thank you, Lord, for my health. Number 2, simplify your playbook. Ask yourself, are my expectations realistic? Have I communicated them clearly? If not, make the adjustments that you need to. Let go of what doesn't matter and focus on what does. Love, connection, presence. And number 3, respond with grace. When someone inevitably steps out of bounds this season, choose to respond with the same grace that Jesus gives us. And instead of saying, "Why didn't you?" try, "I'm so glad you're here." The goal isn't to perfect your holidays. It's to perfect our heart posture. Gratitude and grace are ultimate game changers. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with the thought. Gratitude is not just an action. It's a way of thinking. It's a way of renewing our mind. And when we focus on what we're thankful for, we invite joy and peace into our lives. And isn't that what we all want, especially during this season? Friends, you've got what it takes to navigate this season with grace. You don't need the perfect playbook, just a grateful heart and the willingness to show up with love. And hey, when the playbook gets messy, lean on the one who's already written the perfect game plan for your life. Until next time, remember, you are deeply loved, outrageously worthy, and wildly capable of living the life God has called you to. Thank you for joining me today on our journey towards Christian authenticity and a Christ-centered mindset. Remember, the masks that we wear not only hide our true selves, but also keep us held back, living small in life, in business, and in relationships. As we wrap up, I invite you to take a crucial step towards your breakthrough. I created the Breakthrough Quiz just for you. head over to themindsetschool.net/quiz and dive in to discover a guide to move you closer to your authentic self and renewing your mind God's way. Until next time, let's be real, okay?